This video is sponsored by the Pokemon TCG deck building website PokemonCard.io. Are you looking for sealed product and singles? You can find it all on Channel Fireball. Please use my Tailmon affiliate code when checking out to help support my content. Looking for PTGO codes? Potown Store has all the latest sets and promos, instantly delivered to your email. You can use Tailmon code when checking out for 5% off. If you're from Europe, Millipots Gaming has a wide array of sealed products, singles, and more. You can use Tailmon code when checking out for 5% off. Card Market is Europe's largest online marketplace for Pokemon cards. Whether you're looking for sealed product or singles, vintage or the latest sets, just follow the link in the description to find what you need. Want to show off your love for Tablemon? Check out my 2021 merch. These new hoodies and shirts are available on Amazon. Click on the link in the description to get yours. Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video. I missed a video upload yesterday for the first time in over like 6 months, but I figured I wouldn't pressure myself too much. One day is not that big a deal, right? And I know you awesome viewers would be back no matter what. So I'm getting ready for 50 keys, 50 decks, and part of getting ready is getting back into tournament mindset. So I decided to play last night's Chill TCG tournament, which had over 400 players, I believe, playing. I managed to make it all the way to top 32. My resistance was abysmal, so no chance of top 16, but I had that good enough record for top 16 technically. 449 players, in fact, and I ended up playing VICTINI VMAX. I saw this list and I thought it was very consistent and very good, so I wanted to give it a try. VICTINI VMAX seems like a very powerful Pokemon, and I had some really cool games, honestly. Had some really close games, some games where I have no idea how I managed to pull off a comeback, but I was able to like analyze, and I'll go through the games just like I did for the Dragonpulter video when I qualified for the Limitless Invitational. I'm not going to go over every round because otherwise it would be a 1 hour video, but I will show the best rounds where the games were the closest, and also some funny-ish moments related to our favorite card, Marty, right? So strap in and enjoy the post-commentary games that you're about to see. All right, so round 1, I ended up playing against Single Strike Urshifu, which I figured would be a very tough matchup because they can easily one-shot me and I can't one-shot them. I can only two-shot them. And as you can see, my hand just isn't very good. So I was like, okay, well, this is not the greatest start to the tournament. I was okay with losing this. It was already a bad matchup. Yeah. So the Quick Ball top deck definitely gave me hope. I figured, okay, I can now start pressuring with Victini. I played the Escape Rope to try and disrupt my opponent's setup, and I had a pretty decent hand. So I decided to attach only 2 energies. I don't think that was a mistake. I was trying to be more conservative. This list, as you saw, doesn't play any fire crystals, so you do have to be a little bit careful. And turns out my opponent had like a really good hand. I was hoping to pressure with the Marnie, but I wasn't able to. I mean, with the boss and VICTINI VMAX next turn, but I wasn't able to because I got Marnied. But my follow-up hand isn't bad at all. My Volcanion will go down, and at this point I decide that it's gonna be a decent play to pressure with the Urshifu VMAX with my Victini, and now you're gonna see a very funny moment in a bit. But yeah, my opponent continued to set up her field, looking pretty strong, and mine's looking alright. That Quick Ball top deck, once again, very nice, right? I get to bench under Victini, I get to replace the stadium, and I get to dead change. And now I do play the Welder, so I am able to Welder this turn onto the other Victini, which is really nice. And this is a mistake I make. I play the Fan of Waves, right, to try and delay an attachment, but that also means I do 30 less damage. So as you can see, my opponent right now has 140 damage. I'm thinking, all right, next turn I just evolve my Victini and take a knockout. We're looking pretty good and pretty safe, and you're about to see a really cool card come into play that I'm sure this is the first time you're seeing it in a competitive deck, if you can say that. The Yell Towel, right? I definitely did not account for the Team Yell Towel. It wasn't my opponent's deck list, but I hadn't even taken note of it. It didn't stand out, And now the Urshifu has 90 damage, so my Victini VMAX hitting for 220 is actually not enough to take a one-shot. Or to take a KO, so that was a big mistake. My opponent also whiffed the KO, so I really, I was super bummed out that I forgot about that, that playing the Fan of Waves, which I had no need to, right? I had no need to play it, ended up hurting me, right? So then I have to attack with Victini again. It's like we lost the turn, or it got reset. My opponent didn't KO me either. Now he is going to take that KO, and I figured I'm not in that horrible spot, but if that Urshifu would have had 30 extra damage, I would have been in a perfectly fine spot. Now I rely on my opponent not finding urns to reestablish another Urshifu. That's basically it. That's basically the only plan that I have right here. And I think this is another mistake that I made, so I wasn't playing clearly very well at this point. Evolving into Victini VMAX, I could have just tried to take the knockout with the regular Victini, or actually I couldn't have, right? No, never mind, because I would have dealt 90 damage only because I had no energy, so never mind. That wasn't a mistake. That was the only way I could KO, so never mind. That was fine. They do find scrolls, and they will apply pressure that way. They haven't played a single urn, and they do play 4, right? So the stadium is their last chance at finding the urn, and they do find it. So 1 is not enough, and at this point I assume, and I have a pretty good tell that their 4th single strike energy is prized, so that is good, right? And the Fan of Waves will now actually be useful to try and if my opponent whiffs the urn, I would actually be safe, right? I would actually be safe. I decide that I need to boss and KO that Urshifu, because of the fact that if I attack the active, then for 220, then the scroll would have been enough to take a knockout against me. So I really needed to bypass that or play around that. They do find the energy, and then it comes down to can they find the urn, right? One mistake that I did make, as you can see, I searched for the Dene, but I didn't find the stadium to counter, and I didn't play it, but I should have to try and counter the stadium. Now this is round 4 now. So I lost round 1, then round 2 I won because of a no-show, and round 3 I won as well against a Victini Mewtwo that Tetru. This is round 4 against Mad Party. As you can see, my hand once again not the best, so I have to try and stall a little bit because I don't have anything really. So I bring up the Dedenne, I attach, I play the Fan of Waves to hopefully delay, because they only play 2 Herballoons. There's already 1 in play, so that probably delays the attack for 1 more turn. But imagine if I had started with a Welder KO. That would have made a very big difference. Unfortunately, that is not the case, and we do see the T breaks happening. The attachment, and we're just gonna see a pass. So at this point, I'm not very hopeful of what I can do. I'm figuring this is gonna be this is already a tough matchup, right? Because your Victinis can't even pressure the Denes if they're even in play. And I do top deck a Quick Ball, so that gives me a little hope. I'm like, okay, it's steady change time. Let's try and find that Welder. I do not find the Welder, so I continue to try and dig a little bit. Get a Volk up, which might be useful. I say to get rid of the Marnie, just get a Fire, and I do find Welder. So I am able to take this KO with Flare Strike, which is nice. I decided not to play the Fan of Waves for some reason. I probably should have, I guess, just force my opponent to find another card, another energy to try and attack me. If they found a triple, then that's 1 less Poltergeist, which is definitely better for them to have access to than the Bulby, but it's a little too late, and so decent draw. Now I play the Fan of Waves, and I do evolve, I do attach, and I can't play the Bird Keeper. I can't risk not taking a knockout, so I need to just Outrage right there, saving my GX attack just in case that comes into play through Hitron GX. Registrar did take 3 prizes, and it gave out 3 prizes, so that's alright, right, by the game standards. But now that I don't have access to Marnie, I can never shuffle my opponent's hand. I have no reset stamps or no way to get back that Marnie, so it's just not looking great, right? It's not looking really great, because they will be able to 2-shot me, and I can't win in 2 turns. I can only win in 3 turns, and unless they bench at the Dene or Crobat for some reason, the Crobat is in the discard pile as we just saw, so it's not an option. So as long as my opponent just plays it like safe and finds another energy for their Bunnelby, they 2-shot my 3-prizer, and that's it. So I need another 3-prizer, or I need something else active, and for them to whiff boss. 1 boss is in the discard pile. They only play 2, and their pile pad is also gone, so perhaps there's a chance that they whiff. I mean, it's my only chance. I have to play towards that. So I just go Bird Keeper, I attack, and hope for the best. And my opponent had 6 cards. They still have access to the Dene, but they just have the boss in their hand, so I end up scooping. Now this is round 6 against an Urshifu deck. I distinctly remember this match was also pretty close. My start is okay. I have the Welder. I just need to find basic Pokemon. They do get the turn 1 Chaotic Swell, so that's very annoying. And, oh, it's Gengar Urshifu, yeah. So Gengar definitely made it a little tough, right? And not the best start. My hand is full of trainers, and that Gengar is looking pretty threatening at this point. So I decided to power up the Volcanion, because if they're going to use their GX attack, then I do get access to a couple extra cards, and I can pressure with the Volcanion, setting up the KO for the Hitron possibly, right? So that's the idea. Now they do have the boss. They will kill Victini. Obviously, they're doing 400 damage. My hand is all trainers, but they only have the Dene. It doesn't seem like they're drawing very well. And I have to play I have to play the Crobat without drawing, and with the Bird Keeper, and I whiffed the any Cherish Ball or Quick Ball for Hitron, right? I needed any of those to just get the knockout on the Gengar with Hitron, not even using the GX attack, but I completely whiffed, so I have to attack for 110 yet again. Wait, why does that Gengar not have 220? Did I miss a heal or something? I mean, the next card I top deck was a Quick Ball, so that's slightly annoying. I even commented. I was a little tilted, not gonna lie. But then I go ahead and Marnie. My opponent tells me they watch my videos, so that's very nice. And I thank them, and then I evolve, and I take a knockout. So a little behind in terms of the pressure that I could have applied, but we're even in price cards, and my opponent's field is not looking very strong, and the Marnie hopefully slowed them down even further. Ideally, I do have the Hitron now in my hand in case I'm able to pull off a 1KO somehow in the following turns, but it's looking alright, right? It's looking alright. So I do Pokegear, find myself a Bird Keeper to counteract that that boss that my opponent just played, and then I'm able to use Fion as a pseudo boss's orders, right? And at this point, I'm feeling very confident, right? Very, very confident. I know my the only chance that I lose is if something gets trapped or something somehow, but my opponent's field is not threatening at all. And I just make sure that even if my opponent plays Marnie, I put the switch at the top, so I'm guaranteed to have switch next turn. Obviously, Reset Stamp would demolish that plan, but I'm feeling pretty good. We're having my opponent knows that the game's basically over, so we're just having a friendly chat. But actually, by using boss on the Hitron, my opponent actually stopped me from winning that turn. So now I'm like, okay. So I have to wait. I hold off on the energy for some reason, for retraining purposes, or in case I need to welder, and then I can search for the energy with the stadium. I don't know, just something, making sure that I have options, right? But then my opponent just finds the Dene, gets the switch. I can't kill the Gengar. I do have the boss, but we're gonna see the Marnie come into play, taking away my boss, potentially delaying my win, but thankfully I got that welder and I have the switch, so I'm able to utilize Hitron GX's Hotburn GX for game. This is round 7, and I forgot to click record at the beginning of the game. You can see how it's a little, this is like turn 2 or 3, and I figured in this match I needed to not evolve my Victini, since this was green's Reshisard, and Victini doesn't get any bonus damage, so it was all about Reshisard and punishing the high energy count, and the Marnie just completely demolishes my opponent after the Charizard and breaks and attacks. So I just want to showcase how Marnie benefited me there very nicely. Now this is round 10, right? So I made it to phase 2 with a 6-3 record. I did go 6-3 on phase 1, so phase 2 I started off 6-3, so I need to go 5-0 to have a chance at bubbling into top cut. But I figured I would just continue to play. I was actually having a ton of fun and enjoying myself. I was watching Dexter whilst I was playing, so it was all a good time. And this is Urshifu, right? This Urshifu, as you can see, my start wasn't too hot, and then I used the Dene to try to find energies, and I completely whiffed energy, so it's just not looking great for us. At this point, I'm like, okay, well, I honestly consider at 6-4, the best I can do is top 16, so I'm just going to drop after I lose this match. But then my opponent plays a Marty. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he does play a Marty, which actually helped me. As you can see, I have 3 bosses, and then I find the 1 energy, and yeah, it's looking decent now. Like, it looks like I'll be able to play, right? My opponent's already a prize ahead. He's already set up the damage. It's not looking great, but I have a chance at least, and so I figured I need to go big or go home right here. So I decide to use Crobat and the Dene this turn. I do find the Welder, thankfully, and with this hand I decide that it's better to attack with Hitron, right? Since I do have the switch and doing 130, and then I do have the boss to chase down this Urshifu VMAX, so it went from looking really abysmal to, thanks to that Marnie, looking pretty good, right? Looking pretty good. I have 130, my Hitron is not threatened. They even attach a capture energy, so they can't, they don't apply any pressure this turn. My Hitron is still healthy, and I just figured, okay, I'll just go ahead and GX, and I'm actually not sure. Yeah, I do play the Fan of Waves. That way I make sure that there's no threat of the G-Max Rapid Flow next turn, getting multiple prizes for my opponent, because I do see his list and I don't believe he plays Karate Belt. So that's really good. I know I have another essentially free turn, but I'm a little worried at how I'm going to close out the game, because I can't KO the Dene and stuff, so, and they do play Cheryl, so I am going to have to focus down on the Urshifu, I believe, right? They do hit for 150. It's really good that that's active. That way I can Welder, and then hitting for 130 and establishing the Victini VMAX attack seemed pretty good at the time. That guarantees the 2-hit KO. I have extra energy. I do believe I decided to attach, and I'm pretty sure here I'm just trying to figure out, okay, so what do I need to get rid of, right? I'm just trying to thin my hand as much as possible. What do I need to get rid of to just make sure that a Marnie or a reset stamp doesn't affect you as much, right? So I'm out of support Pokemon, so getting rid of Quick Balls and Pokecom seems like the ideal situation. We do see the Cheryl, right? And my opponent can actually KO me with the Zinchino, so that's definitely a problem. But none of my own Pokemon are like super threatened. I do decide to go for the boss. I do have another energy, and I figured my opponent has 1 attacker, right? So as long as I can damage that 1 attacker, right, I should be fine. And them pulling off their G-Max Rapid Flows doesn't seem very easy, and with only 1 attacker I am pretty safe, right? Because if they threaten to do big damage, they have to use the Urshifu, and if they don't threaten big damage, then that's alright. right? That is completely okay. So I decide to welder, get closer to the boss. I'm holding now the boss for game, which is really good. And this is a pretty cool turn, right? Like, I saw my opponent play 2 reset stamps, right? So I figured, well, what's the point of taking the KO with Cinccino, right? If I take a KO, I take a prize, I make myself weaker to reset stamp, making it more likely my opponent reset stamps away my last boss for a game. So if I just use Spreading Flames, right? They have a Cinccino somewhat stuck in the active. I have the game-winning card, and if they stamp me from 2 to 3, that's pretty weird, right? And I even have switch in case they go boss on the field, because I am out of energy, but I have the switch. So I figured Spreading Flames, rather than being aggressive, was the better play. They do get the scoop up net for the Cheryl, but they're not going to play it, and then I'm able to just finally boss for the game. Now, we're going to see the next game. This is round 11, where we see that I get a stellar start going first against the Tempo Zard deck. So I know that I'm in a lot of trouble. I know that I'm in a lot of trouble and at a big risk of getting dunked. This was very frustrating for me because like, how many basic Pokemon do you play in this list, plus the Cherish Balls and the Quick Balls and the Pokecom. So it's like, the chance of this happening are so darn low, but then they still happen. So at that point, I can't make top 8 for sure. I'm gonna try and like just win out, try to make the graphic for Pokestats, and I get a pretty decent start now. Finally going first. It looks like I might be able to pressure with Victini on turn 2, which I haven't been able to do a ton. This is round 13 against Dragonpulter Urshifu, and this ended up looking like a very good game for me, but then it ended up extending quite a bit towards the end, with some very interesting plays by my opponents, and it was much closer than you would have expected it to. Alright, so I do get Marnie out of my bosses, which is not the end of the world, and this is looking alright. I decide that applying pressure is my best bet, right? Applying pressure is definitely my best bet, so I am going to welder, and I can take a KO, and I decide that it's better to just take 2 prizes right here, eliminate an Urshifu. I don't mind not KOing the Jirachi. I like taking 2 prizes, and also my hand definitely isn't that great, so taking 2 prizes seemed like a good call. Alright. Jirachi finds a switch, see a scoop up net, another switch, another Stellar Wish, so which gets failed. Then we see the Quick Ball for Dedenne, see that, and now my opponent is behind in price cards. They don't go for the G-Max Rapid Flow, which I'm okay with, and now I figured my 3 prizes, my 4 prizes can easily be Urshifu and Urshifu VMAX and Jirachi, right? Seems simple enough. I have 2 Victini set up already, and I'm gonna make it as difficult as possible for my opponent to take a knockout here. He needs boss and switch 2 switching cards essentially, and the Zigzagoon, which seems unlikely, right? Seems unlikely, not impossible, but unlikely. I just figured it's better to try and force my opponent to utilize those resources ASAP, right? So he's even forced to hard retreat, right? The Pokecom off the top. He did have the boss, the Urshifu. The Pokecom found the Zigzagoon, and he was holding another Pokecom for Dedenne and the switching card. So all he needs is the energy, so he is able to pull it off. But I figured like he was going to pull it off anyways, so I made him waste a boss, which might come into play later in the match, right? Might come into play later in the match. He actually didn't need the energy because he was behind in price cards that I'm remembering because of the Karate Belt. So they do take the knockout, which is perfectly fine. But I figured I'm still in a pretty good spot. There's no more Jirachi in play, but now there's the Zigzagoon, and my opponent, I believe, is down a little bit in terms of scoop up nets. I don't think he has many left. So one thing that I'm noticing here right now though is I probably should have just gone boss KO the Zigzagoon, because then like that kept the well, actually no, I needed to eliminate that guy, because with the Karate Belt, with a G-Max Rapid Flow and a boss, he could have won the game. So never mind, that was correct. Eliminating the Urshifu was the right play. And we see the Marnie takes away my boss win condition, and also, like, I know with 1 energy and Hitron, I can just knock out the Dedenne with my GX attack. So I'm just gonna try and play towards that. I do get a Marnie top deck, and I do find the Hitron, but I find no energy, so I can't win this turn. I was like, oh my gosh, am I really going to lose because I waved off of the Marnie? That would be a very sad situation, being so close and then so far. And then we see the research, so then I'm like, okay, no matter what, my hand is now sticking. They don't have any reset stamps. I am certainly going to win next turn, and they can't they can't win, right? Because they needed to play boss with the Urshifu VMAX. So that was nice. And then this is like, my start is just gonna make this even worse for me. Alright, so obviously not a great start. But we're gonna play it out. I was like, okay, well, I made it all the way through. I might as well just play out the last round. Tough matchup, tough start. It's just gonna be rough overall. I guess my start wasn't awful though. Never mind. I guess my start wasn't awful. Like, I have the Welder, I can pressure with Hitron or Reshizard as well. Or that was what I was planning, at least, right? That was the plan, to pressure with the Reshizard. Start off. I do find Hitron to start myself, but then I quickly look and Reshizard is prized. So at that point, I'm losing even more hope. So I figured, okay, I can't be aggressive this turn. I'm just gonna go for the Victini right here. And I have a good enough hand to where I'm just gonna be taking it a little bit slow. I will establish a ton of energy, so now Hitron is actually a pretty powerful threat, right? And I end up spreading energies to Dedenne. So unorthodox starts. I am relying 100% on that Pokegear hitting Welder or Marnie or Birdkeeper to have a shot, and my opponent already has the Pikarom ready to go, and so it's looking a little bit scary. I figured pressuring with Victini was fine, because like 120 set up the 2-hit KO, and like 120 is actually way better than 100 damage right there. Getting more energy into play, never a bad thing. And if they decide to use their GX attack to get those 2 prizes, then that's one less thing I have to worry about in the future, right? And it is a pretty key turn, because I see my opponent plays 1 attack switch, right? I'm like, okay, so they could get it. If they go for their GX attack and they take a ton of prizes, like, then my Victini can KO the Mewtwo back, right? So as long as you can see how playing that other Victini actually hurt me, right? So I think I'm just gonna play 4 of the Sword and Shield Victinis. But yeah, I'm like, okay, now I can just one-shot the Mewtwo with Victini, right? But if I can do it with Hitron, my Hitron will be safe from anything, right? So I'm gonna try and just do that, because why not? And then I have a boss play to KO the Mewtwo, and I win. So I am able to pull that off, and I'm pretty happy about it. Like, now I'm looking at this, Victini could have just taken the KO, no problem, and my opponent had no way to attack me. They were down their attack switch, they couldn't power up any attacker next turn. So all I needed was boss, which I don't have in my hand at the moment, but I do get stamped into 2 Pokegears, so that's pretty nice. And I mean, my opponent obviously didn't know my hand, didn't know I didn't have boss, but I wasn't down any bosses, I believe, at that point. I do play 4, so it makes sense to bring me from 5 to 3. And now that I have the Pokegears and 4 bosses in the deck, I'm feeling pretty confident that I can actually pull this off. And the first Pokegear does find the boss, and we get the win. So yeah, pretty cool tournament experience. Always fun to play in this, and I'm looking forward to 50 keys, 50 decks. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.